This is Kathy Hughes from the American Institutes for Research, and I'm here with my colleague, Marjorie Cohen. We're going to share some information about some free resources that we're developing through the CTE Research Network, training modules to help CTE practitioners and policymakers better understand and use data and research. The CTE Research Network is funded by the U.S. Department of Education and aims to increase the evidence base on CTE. You may know that there's a lot of research on CTE, but very little of it is causal research that can tell us about the causal effect that CTE has on students. So with our partners, Vanderbilt University, JFF, and ACTE, we're encouraging more causal studies and also providing this training and other training to build the capacity of both researchers and practitioners to conduct and use research. So we're developing these practitioner training modules for practitioners, also policymakers, anyone who uses data and research to inform their decision-making on CTE programs and policies, and also to support continuous improvement efforts, improve data systems, overall improve the use of data and research to inform state and local decisions. Each module contains PowerPoint slides, handouts, activities, and a facilitator's guide. They can be completed in about 45 minutes to an hour. They can be delivered online, in person, in a group setting, individually. They are all self-contained, but they do build in complexity, and later modules do draw from some of the terminology and definitions in the earlier ones. But we do have a glossary of terms that will come with the modules, and these will all be available for free on the CTE Research Network website in a month or two, this fall. First, I'm going to show you the list of all 7 modules and their topics. Number 1, understanding CTE data and why they matter. Using data and research to improve CTE programs. Number 3 is about measuring CTE program performance. Number 4, CTE program evaluation and why it matters to practitioners. Number 5, using state data to partner with researchers. Number 6, using research to design your CTE program for equity, very important topic. And number 7, how to communicate about your CTE program using research. And I think now I'm going to turn it over to Marjorie, who's going to give you a preview of the first module.
Thanks, Kathy. So in the first module on CTE data, we begin by defining some important terms. In order to discuss CTE data, we need to think about the types of research that we want to do. Educators perform research to understand how education systems are operating and to assess their effectiveness. As described in this model, research may take different forms and fall into different categories of rigor. Although this information will be shared later in the full module, you should be familiar with the terms quantitative and qualitative research. Quantitative research entails the collection of data that can be expressed in numeric terms. In contrast, qualitative research involves the collection of data that can be expressed in descriptive terms. Rigor describes the extent to which the research can be used to describe CTE programming and its ability to support predictive statements. So descriptive research is primarily narrative in form and is intended to describe current conditions, but may not be used for predictive purposes. Correlational research is used to express relationships between study variables and can support prediction, though not to draw cause and effect conclusions. Causal research, often referred to as rigorous research, is used to quantify study findings and support the use of predictive statements that can be used to establish cause and effect relationships. For this reason, causal research is the preferred approach for studying a CTE program.
So let's give an example. If you were to look at your data for a particular CTE program and you see that 55% of the students in that program are males and 45% are females, that is descriptive. Those are descriptive data. If you also see in your data that the female students are doing better, let's say on average, they are getting better grades in the CTE courses than the males, that's a correlation. There's a relationship you're seeing there between being female and doing better in the courses. But you don't know that their being female causes them to have the higher grades. There are likely other factors that are causing the higher grades, and you would need to set up a random assignment or other type of causal study to determine what those factors are.
Great, thank you. Educators collect data to better understand how education systems are operating and to assess their effectiveness. These data typically consist of statistics or facts that are compiled from a range of sources to offer insight into program operations and the outcomes that students achieve. Consequently, CTE data consist of statistics or facts that are specific to technical coursework. Within CTE, descriptive data offer insight into how a program is operating. Descriptive data, often administrative in nature, typically falls into one of two categories. Program-level data are used to document systems-level information relating to how CTE is offered. For example, data might document the number and type of programs offered statewide or within a district or college, expenditures for CTE instructional equipment and supplies, or the percentage of pathways or courses offering industry certifications or dual credit or concurrent enrollment. On the other hand, student-level data offer insight into individuals served within programs. These may include counts of the number of students who participate in, achieve concentrator status, or complete a CTE program or program of study. They also may describe the demographic characteristics of students. For example, students' gender, race, ethnicity, or categories of need. Outcomes that students achieve also may be described, such as the number of female concentrators, like Kathy said, who graduate from high school within 4 years of entering the 9th grade. Descriptive data are often used in education to provide information on existing conditions within a state, a district, or a college. Within CTE, this would be expressed in terms of the status of current programming or the outcomes of learners enrolled on site. Simply put, educators use descriptive data to assess how well they are serving students, now and relative to those previously enrolled based on an examination of trend data. CTE is unique in that programming is designed to prepare students to continue their studies in a related field at a post-secondary institution or immediately apply their skills in the workforce. Consequently, educators also need to collect data on post-program results of learners. These typically include assessing high school students' subsequent enrollment in a community college or a training provider with affiliated program or employment, which may be either part-time or full-time. So now I'm going to turn back to Kathy to provide an example from Michigan to illustrate.
But these are data from the Michigan Department of Education. Again, these are descriptive data showing different types of student participation in CTE programming and their later outcomes. These are data for students who graduated in 2012, and you can see the different colored bars. Michigan is following students who have had no CTE experience in high school versus those who enrolled in some CTE, those who concentrated in CTE, and then also completers, those who completed a CTE program or pathway. The Department of Education follows these students after high school graduation, and they collect wage information for those students. And these data do show that CTE completers tend to earn more wages after completing their high school diplomas. Then again, if they continue on to earn a certificate or other kind of credential, again, they tend to earn more than those who didn't have any CTE at all, or those who just enrolled in some coursework. And again, these aren't causal. We can't be sure that being a CTE completer causes these higher wages. It's very possible that that's the case. but these data can't show that for sure.
Thanks, Kathy. So where does CTE data come from? So educators have access to a broad range of CTE data due in part to requirements associated with the use of categorical funding to finance instruction. For example, in exchange for providing Perkins 5 grants to states, the federal government holds educators accountable for reporting on the results they achieve. This includes conducting a biannual comprehensive local needs assessment to document their site assets and needs, and to report annually on a set of performance indicators specified in the legislation. Many states also earmark funding for CTE program, and in return, hold sites responsible for documenting how funds are used to deliver services and reporting on student enrollment and site expenditures. Also, local providers may develop their own metrics to address their own site-specific needs. How are CTE data collected? So researchers collect data on a range of strategies. Observational studies engage the researcher in collecting data. For example, a researcher may sit in a class to observe and code student or teacher behavior, or go on site to view the education setting firsthand, and/or conduct focus group interviews. Surveys are often used to collect comparable data from large groups of people and may be administered online or using paper and pen. Surveys can also be used to understand how a stakeholder group, like students, parents, teachers, or employers, feels about a CTE program. Finally, researchers may collect their own original data or conduct an analysis of existing databases. For example, a researcher might obtain district attendance data to assess how absences for students concentrating their studies in a CTA program compare with those not enrolling. So why does CTE data matter? Why collect CTE data? Data may serve a range of purposes. Although there is no limit to their possible uses, data can be usually classified into 3 categories, which need not be mutually exclusive. The first relates to compliance reporting. Here, data are used to ensure that educators are employing resources for their intended purposes and can account for their usage. The second category is to quantify the progress that programs are making in preparing students for the future and recording the outcomes they achieve. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, data can be used to help guide improvement. By looking at how programs and students are performing, educators can target their improvement efforts to the areas of greatest need. And as Kathy mentioned at the beginning, in addition to a slide deck and a facilitator's guide, each module has multiple activities designed to engage with the content in an interactive and relevant way. So here we have a sample activity. This is our closing reflection. So this closing reflection activity asks practitioners how they might apply the information within this first module to improve their use of data and research. Practitioners are then directed to a set of handouts with an activity worksheet. You can see the worksheet on the right side of the screen. The activity asks practitioners to consider 3 questions. What is a problem you currently face in delivering CTE programming in your site? Write a research question that you would like to answer to help address this problem. And then what kind of research would you need to conduct in order to address it? This third question includes thinking about the types of research, quantitative or qualitative, as we mentioned earlier, or the research method, descriptive, correlational, or causal. Now I'm going to turn it back to Kathy for next steps.
Thanks, Marjorie. So please do sign up on our mailing list to learn when the modules are available on the website. As I said, it will be later this fall. And we are going to have a longer presentation on the modules at ACTE's Career Tech Vision Conference coming up the first week of December. And we really do welcome feedback on the modules. This is a new effort, and we really want to hear from you in terms of how you use the modules, for whom, and if they were helpful to your work. So we would love to hear from you. Here's our website. There's the website address. At the bottom of the home page, you can sign up for our list. And again, we'd love for you to do that. And while you're there, take a look at everything that we have to offer on the website. Announcements of events, a lot of CTE research, research that's being conducted by the CTE Research Network, several causal studies, as well as a lot of other reports and research from other studies. And there's an email address you can use to get in touch with me. And we thank you so much. We'd love to hear from you.